Hello there, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of my new tutorial series for Against the Storm. I'm Icon, and this series will guide you through all the difficulty levels of this game, and I will do my best to give you a nice and detailed step-by-step explanation of everything you need to know about this game. I kind of like do these kind of series for various games. I did this for RimWorld and for different games. Find some links in the description box. So the goal of this one is to really take you from the basics and give you everything you need to enjoy this wonderful roguelike colony builder, because this game has really grabbed me, and it might be still early access, but it's totally worth your time. It's really, in my opinion, basically the best thing I played 2022, and therefore let's get started, shall we? So we're going to start to play a colony here on the Pioneer difficulty. That's just a little bit above the easiest thing. That's going to be the first couple of episodes for this series, and then I'm going to go over to the more heavier difficulty levels, explain the changes there, what we have to keep in mind, and all the different things. So if you enjoy this kind of content and if you want to see more of these kind of series, feel free to leave me some comments down below about what you want to see, and feel also free to check out the support links down there. There's PayPal, Patreon, Buy Me Coffee, as ways and means to support this channel, because I'm a free content creator, and there's no big sponsorships behind me. You folks are basically my sponsors, and a big cheers to all the fine folks supporting this channel already. So, with that out of the way, let's get started for real. What we see here is basically our grid. We are viceroys in the service of the queen. This land here is always rainy. Well, it's just like that. We have no deeper explanation so far about that. And our goal is to establish as many colonies as possible before the Blight Storm settles in. When the Blight Storm settles in, everybody breaks up their tents and wanders back to the main city, and then everything crunches down. We hide in the city, which is shielded from that storm by the will of the queen, and then we start all over again to gather new resources for the next Blightstorm cycle. That's so far the narrative of this game. We get to select where we want to play. I'm going to keep it quite simple. Deeper explanations about all this here will follow in the upcoming episodes. For now, we're going to set up our first colony in the Royal Woodlands. I just wanted to introduce you into the basic narrative of this thing so you know what you're basically doing here. So we're going to get up here. Over here, we select what people we will pick, what they will carry with them. I don't want to go too detailed into this one on this difficulty level. We're going to talk about all these things deeper once we get into the Viceroy difficulty. For today, we're going to pick up the people that have beavers in them. That's those dudes here with the beards, because beavers are just awesome for beginner standards. I'll explain later why. So if you don't know what to pick, in doubt, pick beavers. And if you don't know what to pick, still, because there are no beavers, just pick anything. It really doesn't matter too much. This difficulty level is made to give you an impression about the game, so we can talk about that later. Know that this is depicting what the people are, and this is your starting inventory. Here we get some introduction about the biome and all, and about what we can find there. It would be absolutely nonsensical now to really explain everything in there. Just check out what the additional effect there is. This is what the biome brings, so the Royal Woodlands have a lot of wood. I picked up that because a lot of wood is a really nice beginner condition. So we get to pick some embarkation bonus. That's stuff we pick up from the Citadel. Here we pick up eggs and roots. That's just basic foods, and then we're good to go. There's a lot of strategizing you can do already in that screen, but we don't go deeper than that for today. Let's finally embark. So now we get to start our first colony. First off, what it's all about. We forget about those forest mysteries. We'll talk about those later. So the goal of this game is quite simple. Down here, we see those blue dots and all. That's your reputation bar. Once that's full, you win this colony. Then everything is good. You see that red sliver over there, that bar. That's the queen's impatience. If that goes full, you lose that thing, that colony, because the queen is displeased with you, you know? And then you get to start out a new one. That's basically a timer. The queen's impatience grows automatically per minute, so we're working on a clock there from the get-go. But know one thing right away: whenever you gain reputation points, the queen's impatience will subside a bit. So this is no timer that feels incredibly stressful or anything, but it is a very meaningful thing to keep in mind, because if you ever dawdle, you have a death clock running down there. So this game, every match is composed to be played towards an end, just so you know. All right, so first off, what do we see here? In the center, we have our hearth. In this rainy world, we need that. There's always going to be burning fire here, so our colonies in this game have a constant need for fuel. So that's why we brought some wood to begin with. Up here is our warehouse. That's where our people will drop off their goods. Down here you see your folks. The controls of the camera are WASD and middle mouse wheel for some turns. Nothing special. So up here we see our different people that are living in the city. Very important numbers to know. The green ones, that's their resolve. If that ever goes to 0, they will leave the colony. Don't let it go to 0. And if it ever goes to 0, make sure it'll go up again as quick as possible, because they get kind of like a death timer before they actually do leave the city. But more about that later. All the numbers up there are pretty simple. That's the total number of them. That's the free workers, and that's how many of them need a home. That's a homelessness counter. As you see here, everybody right now is homeless. That sucks. We're going to work on that. Up here we have our colony's inventory. That's food stuff. If you click that, you get and you see the items there. So we have some eggs, some roots, some mushrooms. That's raw food. People automatically pick it up and eat it, but people will need food. That's going to be on a constant decline. Up here we have our building materials, sophisticated building materials. Right now that's just parts and wildfire essences. You need these for various things. More about that later. Crafting resources, that's basically everything that allows you to build something else. You start out with a couple of water skins. And here is the fuel tab. Very important thing. So we have a couple of logs and a bit of coal. And that's that. Over here we see the current season. The game has 3 seasons: drizzle, and then there's clearance, and then there's the storm, followed by drizzle, clearance, storm. So drizzle is the most mild season, clearance is the harvest season, and storm is very similar to winter. That's the survival part of the game. Consider it the night time in Minecraft or stuff like that. That's where the bigger challenges of the game happen. Over here we see what kind of bonuses this map has. I don't want to go too deep into that. I just want to explain that there's bonuses during the drizzle season and different debuffs during the storm season. Details about that will follow, promise. It'll all make sense, but I need to wire this complexity up in a way that it's not too confusing. So down here we have our building menu. We see here also something blinking and shiny. That's our building selection, because we get to select different blueprints. So every game you have not the same buildings. You get to select certain buildings that will accompany your colony during the run. But a couple of buildings are standard, and that's why we're going to leave that blinky thing alone. You don't need to pick up these cards right away. You have all the time in the world. These don't decay. So our first job in this place is going to be to make sure that we have a fuel supply, because as I said, the fire is important. When the fire should go out, you will suffer a severe penalty to the resolve. Don't let the fire go out, ever. Really. Try to avoid that at all costs. When we click the hearth, we see a lot of information over here in the tab. Most importantly, we can here set up what kind of fuel should be burned and sacrifice mechanics. We're going to touch that once the storm season hits town. Alright, so building menu. Well, I don't want to explain all the different tabs here too deeply. They are including every building sorted by different topics. We're going to touch them all here in a couple of the next minutes. Over here we have markers, what kind of area should be lumbered, and you can also delete that, and here we can delete buildings. All right. Here are a couple of little things that we're going to need later. Just know that most features here need to be unlocked. We don't have them right now. This game has a permanent unlock system, so every colony we win here, let's press escape for once and open up there. Oh, well, we don't see our rewards here. So every colony you win or lose will give you some kind of a prestige currency, giving you the ability to unlock new bonuses and new skills, so to say. You also gain experience for every colony you play, and that will unlock new buildings that you can draft from this deck here. All right, so like I said, first task will be wood. Let's get started with that. So the tab you need is the camps tab, and here we see all the different camps that we can build. You can find new camps via blueprints here, but we're going to need the woodcutter's camp to begin with. So we're going to set up the woodcutter like that. You can press R to rotate the building, and as you see there, I'm pointing the red arrow towards the forest. I'm going to build 2 of these guys right away because I know we will need them. So let's start the time and let's see what will happen. So our dudes are automatically picking up stuff. Everybody who's not employed permanently into a job is a free idle worker and will just do stuff for the colony. As you see there, when we click this, we see how fast the construction goes, and boom, camps. So when we click that, you see here this icon is trying to tell you that there are no workers. Just mouse overing over most things is opening up a very, very informational, contextual tab. Use them, they're amazing. And here are the workers that we can put in. Here we get a little bit of an explanation. What's really important to note is that this thing has a specialization bonus for wood. So every species has bonuses. Humans do something better, beavers do something better, and also the lizards do something better. Well, beavers and wood doesn't come as a big surprise. So there are we now picking up these guys. You can click that face here and plot it down like that, just left clicks. Alternatively, you can select the woodcutter's camp, click the faces here, and then just select what kind of species you want to put in. When you right click the people, you can remove them, just the basic controls so you know. And also notice that this red bar here is hovering up and down while we employ woodcutters. This is the hostility of the forest. For some reasons, the forest is semi-intelligent and hates that we are there, and the more we do here, as you see here, there are different things racking this meter up, the more hostile the forest grows. The more hostile the forest grows, the more resolve we lose. So, woodcutters, you cannot spam them endlessly. That's all I'm trying to say here. The more woodcutters you have, the more hostility. So 2 woodcutter camps are all we need for starters. So, now let's pick up the paintbrush and hold down the left mouse button, and there we go. And here you see these holes. These are so-called glades. These are areas where we'll find new stuff. We don't want to open them up accidentally though. So we're going to select the woodcutter's camp, and here is a selection, avoid opening glades. I'm holding down shift, And this does apply the setting now to both woodcutter camps at the same time. By doing this, we have now set up a nice area for them to chop down. We're working ourselves towards new resources here, and we're making sure that they don't accidentally open these while we don't want that. So I'm going to explain why that's so important a little bit later down the road, but know this already. You don't want to blunder into your glade opening just like that. Okay, but now we have still 4 people idling around. So wood supply has been secured. Let's set up the next thing. Let's get on over to the housing tab, and there's shelters. So housing is darn important because, as you see there, it's rainy all day, and that sucks to have no house, doesn't it? So we're going to set up houses. Every house has a room for a total of 3 people. So we're going to slap up these and set them up just like you want to. And here you see this icon tells you there's no building materials for that, so our woodcutters have to do this. When we mouse over the trees now, let's check this out. As you see there, there's a lot of stuff on them. So you don't only get wood out of these, you get also a lot of other items out of these. I'm not going to explain too much about the other items because everything at a time. But this is very important to note. This is a thing with this game. Wherever you go, wherever you do something, you get more than one thing. Here, these roots, they give you roots and a chance of herbs. And over here, we have a clay deposit, which has a chance of other things. This is a integral part of the design philosophy of this game, that everything has a primary resource it drops and a lot of other secondary things that are happening. Okay, so over here we have that blinking mask icon. That's the cornerstone. You could also translate cornerstone into perk. These are things that happen, or these are unique permutators for every colony. You only keep them for one run. So here we get to just select if either we want this or that. I'm going to pick up Lost in the Wilds because I know that's amazing. So every time we discover a new glade, we will gain 1 villager. And for example, that's what I meant when I said you don't want to open them accidentally. So now I have a reason to open the glades if I want to. You know, that's just pretty good. Let's speed up the game a little bit and watch our city grow. Where houses are getting built while the woodcutters chop their wood. And whenever somebody receives a house, watch this. So a new house has been built, and now you see the resolve is climbing from 12 to 13, from 8 to 9, because people are happier with a house than without. Surprise. So we have finished the housing now. What's next? So we're going to go for the next very basic things. And keep in mind that I'm still not touching these buildings. Seriously, you don't need to touch these buildings before you have set up the very, very basics of your colony. I strongly advise against drafting before anything because of a simple reason. Every single one of these buildings requires advanced resources that we don't even have right now. We need to set up a basic camp before we even can talk about building these things. So don't feel stressed out by that. You don't need them yet. So housing done. What's next? So I'd like to harvest those roots. So we click that, and here you always see what kind of building you want, you need. And we're going to rotate like that. And let's set up shop at the clay deposit as well. And by the way, the reason why I'm rotating the buildings like that is a quite simple one. The workers go chop their stuff and drop it at the red arrow. So this is a lot faster. They just walk back and forth from the trees to the house, from the trees to the house. And once the house is full and has an internal storage, they go and drop it off at the warehouse. So altogether, this saves your folks a lot of time. This looks like nothing, but seriously, it is changing a lot. All right, so we're building these thingies here, there. Once they're done, we're going to get there. And here you see the scavenger's camp. You can select what kind of stuff it should pick. what kind of priority should be there. But for starters, we only slap in one lizard dude in there, and into the stonecutters camp another dude there. Also, pressing space bar is pausing the game. Also, this is giving away that I'm living in Germany. Hi. So now we have set up the very basic needs. We have housing, we have a collector for food. This won't get our colony through, but it will save us from the very quick starvation. And we gather some clay here. What's next? So like I said, for the next few buildings, we require advanced materials. So that's where we're going to continue. So the next tab is industry. You start out with a crude workstation and a makeshift post. We're going to pick up the crude workstation and also the makeshift post. We're going to drop them left and right from the warehouse, because this way the workers can be quite efficient. They pick up the stuff they need, drop it off in their workshop, pick up the stuff from their workshop, drop it off back into the warehouse. This is always keep in mind that your people have to transport things physically from A to B. And this is very important when how you plan your colony. So the crude workstation is where we craft our planks, our fabric, and our bricks. These three things are your main building blocks of every colony, or of every sophisticated and advanced building. And the makeshift post is the integral basic building that provides you with trade goods. Here you can pack up packs of crops, provisions, and building materials. These are a little bit more esoteric at first. Know one thing: the most important thing for starters are the packs of provisions. These enable you to trade, but more about that when we have unlocked the trade routes, because we don't this run. So the makeshift post ain't that important. The crude workstation is for today way more important. This is where we're going to craft all these things. So how does the crafting here work? You see here the recipe. This place transforms 8 units of wood into 2 planks. We're going to limit that to 10 of them because we don't want to destroy our entire wood. Then we have here fabric. Here you see this swooshy, circly arrow thing. Click that and you see that fabric can be made out of plant fiber, out of leather, and out of reed. It's up to me now, left clicking there, to allow or forbid various sources. For now, I'm going to stick with the plant fiber recipe. We don't have any of the alternative sources, and when we mouse over the trees, or mouse overing the trees, please. So there you see that every tree has a 10% chance of dropping plant fiber. So basically every 10 trees we get 1 piece of plant fiber. This ain't really effective, but it is getting us somewhere. And with the bricks, it's the same thing. Bricks can be either made out of clay or out of stone. We're gathering clay here, so all's fine. So let's employ limits on these things. Put down 1 worker into that workshop, and now we have the very basic foundations of a solid colony. There's only one thing missing, and that's the upgrade of the ancient hearth. So as you see down here, there's a level up thing. So upgrade requirements are 11 people or 8 people. We have 11. And decorations. So 4 decorations are necessary to upgrade that thing. So the decorations are found here. There are green decorations, blue decorations, and yellow decorations. These are different tiers. For our thing, we only need the green ones. So we slap down some barrels, 4 of them, within the yellow radius. It's hard not to hit the yellow radius, but I'm just saying. And then we're going to speed it up a little bit. Now we only have 1 builder left, so work is getting done a little bit slower. But while we're waiting for the barrels to be built, you can now see that our lizard dude is carrying stuff into the workshop. And here we have our first change of seasons. By the way, it's always raining here. And now we see that the lizard dude keeps carrying things back and forth. Is stocking up the shop. When you click the chest icon, you can see what's inside the workshop, and now he's starting to work. He's now crafting 2 bricks. You can control what's going to be crafted by selecting control priority production priorities. So the arrows here allow you to just configure in what order these limits should be hit. So we're going to leave our little lizard dude with his duty. We cannot put up more workers for now because I want to have 1 builder for those barrels. Meanwhile, our woodchuckers are chucking wood, our stone cutter is cutting stone, and our scavengers are scavenging. So it's the good life, and like I said, a solid foundation to begin with. So there we go. The last barrel has been built, and now our hub has transformed into an encampment. This gives us a free global resolve bonus, and as you see here, the numbers go up. Why are these numbers important? Well, every storm you will suffer penalties to your resolve. The higher the hostility, the more resolve penalty you will suffer, and therefore keeping this number up is going to make you survive better. The storms are getting more and more hostile over the course of the years, so it's starting out relatively easy, and the longer you need to actually win the game, even if you are able to stall the Queen's Impatience somehow unnaturally long, you still have to work against the more and more hostile growing storm. So the game has 2 metrics to actually battle you down, because if ever the storm will be so hard that the resolve drops below 0 for a longer period of time, people are leaving. When people are leaving, every time people are leaving, the Queen's Impatience grows. So that's the basic thing. So how do we avoid all that? By gaining reputation, of course. So gaining reputation, there's a lot of ways of earning these. For today's video, I want to introduce one way, and then we're going to take all the other stuff into the next episode. Up there, we have it blinking and shining all the time already. Orders. So, orders are basically quests issued by the Queen that she wants you to get done. So let's pick the first suit of orders. So here, it's always working like that. It's A or B. So either we deliver 3 packs of crops and get these rewards, plus 1 point of reputation, or we fulfill this one and get these rewards, plus 1 point of reputation. The point of reputation is always with every order. It's only differing in terms of what you got to do and what you get for that. So over here, we can either do this or that. So I'd say we're going to start out with this one. When you are new to the game, always pick up orders that feel doable for you. If the order is confusing you because you have no clue how the hell to make packs of crops and whatnot, always aim for the easier one. If you already know how to fulfill all these jobs, you can start to aim for the rewards. Here you see Amber, that's money. Amber is basically money in this game. Here we would get a perk, which would increase our production of packs of crops, and our crop planting would be faster. Or we take this objective, we get some resin to discover what's that good for one day in the future. We get parts. These are necessary to create collectors like forager camps, stone cutters, and whatnot. Very, very, very important resource. And newcomers, that's new workers. So we're going to pick that objective. So once you picked it up, it shows up over here in the orders area, and we're going to go over these. And here, our next objective would be making a trading post and having 5 amber, and then we would get these. And here, this guy we already know. So I'm picking up the trading post thing because I know that's very easy to fulfill, and I already also know that this reward is quite tasty. So next order, it's either keep the lizard's resolve up for a while or discover glades. So from my personal experience, keeping the resolve up for a species for a while is way, way harder than most early game challenges. So if you're new to the game, take these carefully. They have nice rewards, but they are also harder. Here, discovering glades is darn easy. So we're going to pick these up. So the cool thing here is we already have 2 woodcutter camps. We already have more than 30 wood, so we can do that. So let's check this out. When you click this, you can click here, deliver, and then we get all these things. And I want you to keep an eye out on these 2 bars down here when I click the check mark here. So what happens here is we gain 1 point of reputation. The impatience went down by the same amount. Every full point of reputation does that. If we get only a part of a point, we don't reduce the queen's impatience by that. Very important to note. So we now got some new people, some new workers. That's quite brilliant. And also the 3 has turned into a 4 because we reached that little blue dot check mark down there. So every one of these check marks is giving you a new blueprint draft. There is going to be a lot more, but I'm going to drop the ball at this episode, at this point, because now we know the utmost basics. Basically, from this point, I just want to leave you off if you want to play on for yourself. You get to draft what kind of buildings you want to have. And as you can see here, every building is good at producing different goods. And then you get to work yourself through these orders. This way, you can mostly win the game. How to win the game for real, I'm going to teach you in the next episode. Damn, what I'm talking about. In the next episode, of course. Maybe we can call it a lesson too. So I hope you found that quite entertaining and not too educational. And yeah. Feel free to drop me a comment, leave questions by all means, and next episode we're going to dive deeper into how to gain more reputation points, various other methods. I'm going to talk about clade discovery. I'm going to talk about the storm, so there's going to be a lot of cool things in the next episode to watch out for. So feel free to leave a thumbs up on that video if you enjoyed, and of course consider subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed that kind of content. I do that daily. I also stream down here at YouTube quite often, so feel free to watch out for stream there. So have a wonderful day. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you're going to tune in for some other stuff of mine, and enjoy gaming until then. See ya.